to do with the setup of your program. So we talked a little bit in my other video about how to assign samples, how to create alias tracks, how to create your concert level tracks. And today is going to be how to assign them to your outputs and inputs so that way we have some success. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention is today I'm at the school with all the keyboards we're going to use in the show and the audio interface we're going to use in the show. I firmly believe there's no point in doing the step I'm about to do unless you are at your school or whatever equipment you plan to use as well. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is go to your Focusrite app. Okay, and I just use the Finder, go to Applications, and there should be one titled Focusrite. And if I knew my alphabet, there it is, Focusrite Control. What I want you to do right now is make sure it is what you want the output routing to be. Okay, specifically, I want it to match the DAW. So we're going to do playback 1 and see how it says DAW, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's exactly what we want it to be. And we're going to go ahead and click stereo for 9 and 10 because that's going to be our synth track. And 1 through 8 are going to be the ones in our show. Okay, the reason why you want to do that is the way it does this can change quite a bit in your show. So I want you to just make sure the playback matches. You guys can decide to do the hardware input analog 1, which means whatever's plugged into 1 should come out 1, but we can have some differences with that. So it's best to do the playback DAW in my experience. Okay. Once you've routed this, all of them match what you'd like them to be. That's very important because what you do in here can still have a different output than what you assigned. Okay, so now that we're in here, I have a few things here. These are both for my synth player. So I have output 9, 10, and we want to be a stereo track, so we're going to select output 9 and 10. Okay, and just to give you a reference, I'm going to create a concert level marimba track right now once again. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and create just one track, a software instrument, keyboard 1 and 2. We don't have any selected, so for now we're going to go ahead and say keyboard 1 and click create. Okay, and this will say a concert level means it will happen the entire time. We'll have to create a strip for it. And we want this to be mono. So instead of doing output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mono, which means just one output for that one sound. So we're going to do output 1 for our marimba 1. And once again, you can name it here or you can name it over here in your attributes section. And we're going to name it marimba 1. And like I said in a few of my other videos, it's very important to select your colors to make sure you have the right colors. And marimba 1 for us is always red. So we're going to select red for that, just so we know what it is. And admittedly, I did make a mistake and I did a software instrument. So we're going to leave it as that. And we're actually going to do audio, input 1 for our marimba. Let's go ahead and create it. We're going to do feedback protection on that. We're going to do input 1 and then output mono 1. And since this is a software instrument here, we're going to go ahead and delete that. Okay, so input 1, output 1, and we're going to name it marimba and color it red, just like I showed you a second ago. Remember I said it's helpful when you're in the app on the iPad to assign these images to help. Okay, now that we've got it color-coded and we have everything we can to make looking at this a lot easier, we can go here and show that we have now something for output 9, 10, 9, 10, 1, 2, 1, 2, and just 1. Okay, the metronome we don't want to hear, so I'm going to select no output. And the large studio, I believe this is a send for our classical piano, so we're actually going to put that through 9, 10 as well. Because my speaker system is not set up, you won't hear it. But as I play, I want you to notice that our output channel 910 is making noise. Okay, so now let's go ahead and assign our keyboard instruments. Okay, so we're going to go to Layout, and I'm going to select this keyboard right here, and we're going to assign it. And see here I have Juno DS, DAW control, Juno DS. We don't want the DAW control because we don't want this to go in and alter things, and the student doesn't know. We don't want to have them create something for us we didn't want created accidentally. So we're just going to do a basic Juno DS. Okay, number of keys, depending on your keyboard, you'll have it a certain amount. I know we have 61. Okay, so our low note is a C, which is true on this keyboard. And I press the C there and you can see that. So lowest key, learn, C. And now you can see there. Now highest key should be C up here. I'm going to play it, and you can see it does show that, and I'm not using my mouse to play it. Okay, now we're going to assign this keyboard. Once again, you're going to have to select the keyboard, and then the easiest thing to do, learn, and then play your lowest note. And that assigns your lowest note. Actually, did I just do the wrong one? Learn that note, and then number of keys. I have a 32 key, so we're going to go ahead and go all the way down to 32. And you can also tell most keyboards will have the number of keys on the MIDI keyboard in some way. So for example, we had Juno DS. It doesn't show on here because of the software. But the Juno DS on the instrument itself has 610, which means it's a 61 key keyboard. And as you can see, the name of this keyboard, it actually says AKM320, which means it's a 32 key. So now we have those there. I can play keys on here, and it will actually show me. So we go back to our edit window or our performance window on this channel. Now I am playing the keyboard, and it's highlighting and showing me that I am playing something on that keyboard. Okay, so that's how I'm setting up the keyboards into the program. And the interface, let's get that set up for those of you that did not know. You're going to want to go to Mainstage, Preferences, Audio, because we're dealing with audio right now. Your output and input should match, and the sample rate right here should match what you have in the Focusrite Control. So I have Scarlett 18 in, 20 out. Scarlett 18 in, 20 out, USB connection, which is true. And then if we click Setup here, that will take us to the audio MIDI setup. For those of you using more than one interface at a time, I believe I showed this in the other video, but if not, you can create what we call an aggregate device. And I'm actually going to do this later in the week when we get our second audio interface. But we're going to use the Scarlett audio interface. I'm selecting that first because that's the first one we're going to use. We want it at 48 kilohertz to match our show. And we're also going to incorporate, for now, I'm going to put, I don't have it here, but I'm going to select the Tascam. Oh, it's gone. So once you have it plugged in, there should be another one. It will show you the ins and outs, and you can connect them. If I wanted to, I could connect my microphone and my speaker, and it would show that I have 2 outputs and I have 2 inputs and outputs with our speakers. And notice we have drift correction. We need those on there because our Scarlett is going to be the primary source, and these are going to be clocked in to the primary source. So we're at 48 kilohertz. If we go back into our Focusrite Control, we just want to confirm in our settings up here that we are truly at 48 kilohertz and our clock source is internal, which means it's being controlled internally and not by another source. Okay, so we're back in here. That's all set up. So now we have that together. So when we're in Mainstage and our preferences, just to make sure you have the audio interface you plan on using, the sample rate matches. If it does not match, you will not hear sound, or you will get a really grainy sound that you do not want in your show. Okay, the 24-bit recording is what we have there. Do I have that selected here? Let's find out. Looks like I don't have the option to select 24-bit in here, but that is the most common we're going to use. A couple other things I want to mention in this video. As you guys are performing live with your band, when you are ready to perform, if you plan to do the iPad computer integration, there is connection via Wi-Fi, and I believe there's connection via USB. You don't want to drag a 60-foot USB cord all the way to the stands to control. So my advice is to get a personal hotspot and use your personal hotspot to control your devices. So my phone is my hotspot, and that phone I can supply the connection from my computer using the same Wi-Fi hotspot through my iPad. And that way we're able to do that. And we have a couple other staff members who also are using their iPads. We're going to try this later next week. And they've all been able to connect to my hotspot and control the show as well. So what we're going to try to do is control the show with 3 iPads at once. Other things I can think about, I will put in the comments, but I just wanted you guys to know this is part of your show, that is how you set up your keyboards, how you set up your audio interface, and how you do the inputs and outputs of your show. The inputs matter if there's something being input into the audio interface, and the outputs matter for every channel you do, okay? And then you can monitor those channels over here, okay? And notice how I have input 1 and then we don't have an input 1, 2 anymore. So in this channel, I can select right here to make it a 1 channel output, just 1. So now when I play this, nothing will show an output 1. And if I had a speaker or my microphone plugged in, I should be able to make a sound through that microphone and that would input through that channel. Okay? If you have any other questions for me, please let me know in the comments and I'll do everything I can to reach out to you guys as soon as I can. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.